think it's fair to say that the vast majority of time that we are out navigating, out in the hills, that we are constantly attempting to answer the question, where am I? And there's a perfectly logical question to try and answer, because if you know where you are at all times, you can never get lost. But I think that logic sometimes forces us or encourages us, particularly novices, to put the blinkers on. Because if they're trying to answer the question, where am I? Then we are constantly looking at the ground where we are, either on the ground or on the map. We are limiting our range of visibility and our range of observation to that which is immediately around us. And sometimes that can be a real undoing. So in this video, I want to share with you a really simple exercise that you can do when you're out on the hills that will significantly improve your map reading, your navigation, your map to ground and ground to map appreciation, and ultimately will help you to continually and far more quickly answer that question, where am I? To undertake this exercise, you need three things. The first thing being good visibility. And by good visibility, I mean being able to see hundreds of meters, if not kilometers, if not miles away from where you're currently stood. And as you can see in the background behind me, I've certainly got that today. The second thing that you need is a full-size map that shows at least the distance that you can see out on the ground. Cut down maps are not your friend on this occasion. The third thing you need is the ability to spend time applying and practicing this exercise. Once you become skilled and adept at this, you'll be able to do it pretty much whilst you're mobile, as you're walking. But for now, if you're learning this technique, if you're applying this exercise for the first time, or you're coming back into navigating in the hills after some time off, you need a decent amount of time to be in one location and practice this, and then move to another location and practice it there. It won't take that amount of time all the time, but it is one of those exercises that is very definitely best given some time and attention so that you can carefully hone it. Let's take a look at it then. First thing to do is pick something out there in the range that you're looking at. Look around yourself when you're on the hillside, find something out into the distance, some distance away, find it. Identify a feature. Find it on the map. Then, here comes the part that most people struggle with. Justify using three pieces of evidence, three pieces of data as to why the feature that you've picked out on the ground is the feature that you're pointing to on the map. Because it is, because it's obvious. I just noticed none of those are reasons, they're not data. You need to come up with three specific underpinning reasons, some rationale as to why what you're saying on the map is feature X out on the ground, and vice versa. It's not as easy as it sounds. The reason we're looking for these underpinning reasons is because it's very easy when you're navigating, particularly when you're cold, tired, wet and hungry, to look at a feature in your mind to make that feature fit the map and the map to fit that feature, and before you know it, you are lost. You are grasping at straws. It's really easy to do. I've done it tons of times. Anybody that's been out on the hills with any sort of experience, they've done it themselves, and they've learnt, rather than just looking at a feature and thinking, that's so-and-so, it's obvious, I know it is, always come up with at least three underpinning reasons as to why it is. Because if you can't come up with the underpinning reasons, maybe, just maybe, that feature isn't what you think it is on the map, and what you think on the map isn't what you're heading towards. Come up with that underpinning reason, the safety net that we often talk about in navigation. That's what these three reasons are. Let's look at some that I've just done a few minutes ago. The feature that I'm bringing up on the screen now, slap bang in the middle of that still image, is a piece of high ground. I believe that high ground to be Carnath Daffydd, and my three reasons for believing that it's Carnath Daffydd are these. Number one, I've orientated my map and myself to the ground using this wall line here, and quite conveniently, this quite well trodden track crosses this wall using this style. When I do that, and I look either half right on the map or on the ground, both of them take me in the direction of that peak that I've just named there. So there's piece of evidence number one. Piece of evidence number two. There's my suspicion that's Carnath Dathith right in the centre of the shot there. If I look down into this low ground, there is a quite prominent road there. That's the A5 running along Ogwyn Valley into the Nant Francom. You can see right in the centre of the frame there a significant piece of ground, almost vertical, cliff-like, crag-like feature there, rising up from the low ground. And then if I follow the top of those rocky outcrops and that cliff along, we can see that it rises gently and gradually away from me in the direction of that peak, which is in the centre of the shot now, which once again I believe to be Carnath Dathith. So there's piece of evidence number two in terms of how it relates to the large rocky cliff-like outcrop, and in turn to the road in the valley below, coupled with the direction that I was facing when I was stood next to the wall. Things are all adding up for me. Final piece of evidence, once again looking at that feature, which I believe is Carnath Dathith right in the centre of the shot. If we look at the very, very tip of that feature, and it's probably you can see it's clouded over at the moment, it's in shadow. If we look at that, it's a pretty traditional kind of conical pyramid shaped peak. If you look, many of the other peaks around here, there's a very definite top to them, but it's more rounded. This is your kind of traditional pointy hill. I can only see two of the four sides of it at the moment, admittedly, but when I relate that back to the map, I can once again see that the shape of the feature, as far as I can see it, in terms of the contour lines on the map, marry up with what I'm seeing on the ground. So there's three pieces of evidence there that I've pulled together that make me confident that the feature that I've picked out in the distance, that I believe is Carnath Dathith on the map, is indeed that feature. The next one's an interesting one. Smack bang in the centre of the screen now, you can see, and I'm going to highlight this because it's pretty nondescript, it's not the top of a hill, but you can see a very sharp feature. I believe that on the ground to be what I'm now bringing up on the map on the screen. So that's what I think it is on the ground, that's what I think it is on the map. It's not named on the map, but it is a very, very popular scramble known as Bristly Ridge, and that's what I believe. That still image that I took, centre of that still image is Bristly Ridge. Here are my three reasons for my rationale, three of my pieces of underpinning data to support that claim. Number one, I have taken a magnetic bearing from this fixed point here, which is this quite prominent path crossing a fence line which is shown on the map. I've taken it from that style halfway up the centre of what I believe to be Bristly Ridge. I converted that, not that it needed a great deal, to a grid bearing, applied it to the map, and lo and behold, the line runs perfectly from the style through what I believe to be Bristly Ridge on the map. So the bearing is a tick in the box. Second piece of data, if you look down roughly into the centre of the screen now, hopefully you can pick it up, but there is a very, very large lake there, Clinogwyn. Bristly Ridge is on the south side of Clinogwyn, and I know, just because of the way my orientation on the ground, that Clinogwyn is currently north of that feature, and therefore that feature is currently south of Clinogwyn. So in terms of where the map says that feature should be from a proximity perspective, ties in with what the ground is telling me in relation to that fixed known point of Clinogwyn. Third and final piece of evidence right in the middle of the screen is a very, very distinctive, if you know North Wales at all, feature called Trevan. If we think from a proximity perspective, what the map tells me is that just south of Trevan is the Bristly Ridge feature. And again, on the ground, Travan is just north of the feature that I believe is Bristly Ridge, and therefore Bristly Ridge, or what I believe to be Bristly Ridge, is just south of Travan. So again, using a known mountain feature that is very, very close to what I suspect is Bristly Ridge. Tie those three in together: proximity to Travan, its positioning in terms of Clinogwyn, and the bearing that I took from what I believe to be Bristly Ridge to that known point there. All three tied together. I'm happy that that feature is indeed Bristly Ridge. If you want to further improve your map reading and land navigation skills, then check out the YouTube playlist that's appearing on the screen round about now. Click on that and you'll see a whole range, probably in the region of 60 plus videos that I've created and produced, all designed to help you improve your navigation and map reading ability when you're out on the hills. Enjoy.